Kerr Outdoors. Today we're just going to go ahead and make a penny alcohol stoves, and you can make them with just a soda can. And it's really useful if you, there's my soda can. It's really useful if you just want to have something for emergencies, or a lightweight backpacking stove or something like that. You can kind of do this really simply, or you can get really into it and mark everything out and measure everything. Today we're just going to do it kind of simple with just a few things we have on hand. So what I've got here is I've got my razor blade from the dollar store. I found this little push pin just hanging around the house. I've got my 12-ounce soda can and a pair of scissors. There's a Sharpie, not sure we're going to use that. And I've got a multi-tool and a couple other things here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you'll actually need 2 soda cans. So here I've got 2 soda cans, and we're going to take the bottom of each soda can. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my razor blade, and I've got this book to kind of measure. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this razor blade down flat, and I'm going to find a flat space here, and I'm just going to turn the can while I score the can with the razor blade. See, my can's already being cut. So let's see. So there you see the razor blade just kind of cutting that can. And then if you just go ahead and apply a little bit of pressure to where you scored it, just carefully, kind of gently, this the can will sort of peel right away. The metal will peel right away. It doesn't take a lot. Okay. Oh, looks like we still had some Coke in there. Let's get something to wipe that up. Okay, so you can see we've just cut this can with the razor blade. It worked really good. Just kind of did that. Now we've got this bottom piece that we're going to use that's about 1 inch high, more or less. And we're going to make another piece that's exactly like this. So I'm going to grab my other can, find a flat spot here, and get my razor blade, and we're just going to kind of do the exact same thing. Cut around. All right, there we go. Now I made a little bit of a lip there. Got my scissors. I can just trim this up a little bit. It's no problem. There we go. Now it's not a perfect edge, but it doesn't really need to be. You know, and some people spend a lot more time. We just kind of did this a little bit quick. So here's my other, the 2 halves. They're about the same height. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these halves to be the outside piece and one to be the inside piece. So I'll kind of pick the rougher edge to go on the inside. And this is arguably one of the most difficult portions of this, is you need to go ahead and put these together onto each other, and they just sort of slide in. So there's some things that we can do. See, I don't really want to, but one's got to go inside of the other. Now, along with that on this one, we've also got some wicking material. This is some fiberglass insulation we raided from corner of the house that was not finished. So you can use some of this. You don't need to have a wicking material in it. It'll work without it, but we're going to go ahead and try to use some of this when we get to that point today. So I'll put that off to the side. So what I'm going to do is grab my multi-tool, which is basically going to be used for the pair of pliers, and then I'm going to take this side that's going to go inside the other, and I'm just going to kind of just eyeball a little way up. Just kind of put a little bit of a dent in these, a little twist in them. Go around and do that, which is going to hopefully help the two go together. Now again, I've seen people get out and measure this, and sort of kind of ends up like that. Okay, we're just going to kind of eyeball it. So then I'm going to get my insulation. That's going to be my wicking material. I'm I'm going to pack some of that in here. Okay. And then I'm going to try and fit this onto here. Now you want to be very careful when you're doing this, because if you get too aggressive with it, your can can actually split. Sides of the can will split, and that's no good. There, see, I've got it all around. Now I'm just going to push them together, sort of evenly, nice and kind of slow and gentle. I'm going to push that in, and go ahead and push that together. Now you can make these different sizes, kind of, and I've got a little bit of a dent right there, unfortunately. But we're going to make this side, the top side, and since the bottom went into this piece, I like it when this piece goes down and the top is up here. I feel like that creates a little bit more pressure. So that's sort of just fit together. You can see they get really snug there. You can, if you made this a different size, what I've found is that kind of the smaller size, the smaller width makes it light a little bit better. So we're gonna, there it is. Then we're just gonna go ahead and find our push pin. So this is the top. Now what we're gonna do is make a little place for us to put the fuel in. So we're gonna find right at the center, in the middle here. I'm gonna just push the pin in there, and then we're gonna make sort of a little X or a little cross. Not too big, because you want a penny to be able to cover these holes. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. And these are gonna be our fuel slots. Now for the jets. When this is lit, jets of flame are going to come out the side. So we're just going to go about halfway in between, between this edge and this edge, and this edge and this edge. Start a place in the middle, and just push that in. And then I would just go straight across from that. You can kind of eyeball the distance. Again, I've seen people mark these all out. I just like to do things as simply as possible. So, push that in. Okay, got those two jets there. Then I'm going to go one across here on each side. So about the middle of these two. There we go. And if you've got halfway decent spatial awareness, you should be okay doing this. So just go straight across from here. Okay, so now I've got the four. Now I'm just going to proceed to do this in the middle of these two and just sort of go around. So we'll go to here. And we'll go to the other side of here. All right, now we have this all done. You can see I've just taken my push pin and I just alternated and just alternated. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little jets, and we're going to leave it at that for this one. So this is pretty much it. So I've got my wick in the middle. I've got my 8 jets around the side. And I've got this place here to fill. The other thing we're going to need is a penny. I had one around here. I'm not sure what I did with it. Now your penny that you want to use to put on this when you get it lit needs to be 1982 or older, because it was mostly copper. 1982 and before that, and earlier is mostly copper. Copper will melt at about 2,000 degrees. After that, they use a lot of zinc, and zinc will melt around 750 degrees. So the zinc penny can actually start to melt if you use a penny that is older than or newer than 1982. Okay, so one more thing before we go take this out and light it. You want to make sure this is really sealed up down here. And so if you've got it available, one thing that I like to use to do that, which I wasn't going to, but just thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and do it, is I've got a little bit of this foil tape that's used in heating and air conditioning and different things. So I'm going to cut out a little piece of foil tape, and I'm just going to use this to seal up this bottom a little bit. There we go. It's not the prettiest job, but I think that will get the job done. So now let's take this up and go light it. Okay, all right, we're back. We came up here. We've got our well-ventilated area. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area when you try this. And you probably want to ideally be outside or an area that's safe. Be super careful. And make sure you've got a competent person that's an adult to supervise you. Anyway, unless of course you are an adult. If you're a kid, you should not be trying this. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up. And I'm just going to let it go into the holes there. Just kind of let some fuel sink in there. There we go, and it doesn't take much. Now, the first time I'm going to do this, I'm actually going to light some of this edge on fire. You see I spilled right there. So I'll put some here, and I'll kind of put it off to the edge there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and light this. Whole thing's going to go up here. And we're just going to give it a second. And you can kind of see the jets are already starting to come out. This other alcohol around is going to burn off in a minute. And then we're just going to be left with the unit here. There we go, and we're just going to let it go for a second. And a lot of times that flame will come out in the middle. There we go. And these kind of need a little bit of a time to prime. You've got to let them heat up for a minute before they'll work at optimum level. If you try and stick the penny on too soon, then they will probably go ahead and blow themselves out. I think we're pretty good, so I'm just going to take the penny, drop it in the middle there. We'll cover those holes, and then you can see the jets kind of stabilize around the center. And there you have it. There is your penny alcohol stove. Now, to use this, you can't set a pot directly on top of this flame, because if you were to put a pot directly on top of this, it would go out. So this is the kind of thing that you would put inside another little stove, or you could maybe get a soup can and cut some ventilation and put the soup can over that with some ventilation and cook on top of that. But this is just a really lightweight emergency or backpacking stove. Just kind of a cool thing to know how to do. All right, so one thing before I go, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood is you don't ever try and fill this up once it's going. And if you've already filled it up and you've tried to light it with your lighter or your match and it's not becoming lit, don't then go fill it up again, because sometimes depending on the light, this will actually be lit and you won't know, right? And there the light goes. But you can, so don't ever get your alcohol and fill this up more while it's going, because then you really have problems, just as kind of a word of warning. And if you've already tried to light it, don't try and fill it up more. You've probably got plenty of fuel in there. So just go ahead and be safe and be careful, and leave your comments below. Thanks.